It is Sunday evening, and that means it's time for another live recording of the Auburn Experience podcast. We have episode 84 coming your way. We're going to discuss a little Auburn potpourri, talk about some summer football updates, and welcome Oklahoma and Texas officially into the SEC and Auburn world. All that's coming up in episode 84 right now. Well, War Eagle Auburn family and a special War Eagle and welcome to those of you that consider yourselves part of our E2C Network family. Thank you so much for joining us, whether you're watching live, replay, however you got here, whenever you got here. We appreciate you being here and being part of our little family within the Auburn family. I'm Kyle. That's Austin. Welcome back to another live recording of the Auburn Experience podcast. Austin, welcome back, sir. And congratulations to your family, it sounds like, with another... What do you call it? Nuptials? Is that what they call it these days? Or a wedding happening?
Sure. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not smart enough to know those words. No, thank you. I am back in Auburn after a long week. My sister got married yesterday.
Congratulations.
My Auburn woman sister got married to an Auburn man. So congratulations to the fair cloths.
That just makes me so happy. You know what we do with that? Whenever two Auburn people get together, that's what we do, Austin.
It's been a while since we used one of those.
I got any more.
Congrats to them, and it was very fun, very special, and pulled on the old heartstrings a little bit. So good. It was a good week.
Good week with 4th of July, all that that encompasses with that. So maybe we'll get into a little bit of that. You never know during the show. But all that's coming up here in just a few minutes. For those of you that don't know how this normally works, we spend the first few minutes or so letting y'all get into the room, and then we'll actually start what will be the official show and the recording that we'll use for the audio podcast. And then I'll stay and talk to you guys a little bit afterwards, a little bit of just Q&A time for you. Those of you that are watching live, especially if you're on the replay, we appreciate you being here, but obviously I can't interact with you via
from the future.
I guess I can in the chat, in the comments section. But it's not like
you probably won't.
No, don't say that. I will interact, but it'll be like delayed, not live. And there's something to this whole being here live. Speaking of, we got a lot of fine people checking in, roasting us for being late.
Yeah.
I see.
I am a parent and have children to put down to bed, folks.
Dadgummit. Stan. Okay, we love you, Stan. Thank you for being here. But Bryant, Stan, Dalton, WT, who else is here? That's David Franks on Facebook. So many people that are great regulars here. We appreciate you being here. So if it's your first time, welcome. Smash the like button, subscribe, all that good stuff so you don't miss out on anything. If you have some very quick questions or topics you'd like us to hit as we kind of get the juices flowing here, please do so. But we really got a good, I know this, we say this every week, Austin, but we do have a good show for you all yet again.
Absolutely.
Some fun topics. It feels like every summer you and I lament over, will we actually have enough to talk about? And I can tell you, I've started jotting down some stuff for us for the next couple of weeks. And I realized, oh boy, we're going to have to hope something else big doesn't happen. Because SEC Media Days right around the corner. That in and of itself is probably going to be an entire show. Right after that, fall practice starts. And then we got to do previews. We got to do predictions. If you have been craving football, folks, like true football discussion, it's not here, but it will be here so soon. So I know you're excited for that as well.
Of course. I mean, this is, we're 55 days, something around there, I think, maybe less. I'm not totally sure, but it's coming down the pipe, and it'll be here before we know it. The beginning, well, not the beginning, but the culmination of talking season at Media Days will all be in, and it's breaking down. July, it's always a year-round sport these days, but we're getting close to the penultimate time of the year.
Yes, we are. Brian's got a question on Facebook, says, inside info on any Auburn guys that won't be on College 25 or the whole roster a lock. Important with an exclamation point. Will it feel like your experience is ruined if they're not all in there? Remember, there was a time where you had no names. You had numbers and obviously likenesses, but nothing that was, you could say, this is officially who this is. So how times have changed. I don't have any inside information on that. I would imagine, and I cannot remember unless you do, Austin, the figure of what they all were going to get just by allowing them to use their likeness. If you are someone who already doesn't have big NIL deals, why wouldn't you? Just
Agreed.
It's free money. Just you're on the team, so just stay on the team and you'll get paid is how I think it would work.
And I guess in the game.
In the game. How many times are we going to do that?
As many as it takes.
I wonder though, if you're a big time athlete, do you hold out for more money or like not give over your likeness as a bargaining tool or something like that? I mean,
I don't know. The biggest one I can remember thinking of is Arch Manning said he's not in the game to focus on football. That doesn't make any sense. But I don't know. I mean, if I'm EA, I'm not, wow, 32. That's a ton.
Mm-hmm.
That seems crazy. One, because it's, as Dalton alludes later, I thought it was like $500, $600, and a copy of the game. The copy of the game is probably enough to sell me.
So that's $670 essentially. If you got the premium deal.
But like, I don't know. I don't get why you wouldn't, even if you're someone big. But if I'm EA, I'm not, trying to get somebody that big time. If they're going to hold out, they're going to hold out. I'm not going to sit here and try and throw more money at it, because that seems to open a can of worms into something you don't want to deal with.
Yeah.
Who's getting what? But
yeah.
Eventually, if you don't want to be in the game, then you don't want to be in the game. Then you don't like fun. That's fine. I'm interested to see if we're just going to be would I just be able to create Arch Manning? I mean, we used to create people all the time.
I mean, you can do whatever you want in like your player builder, your team builder, your coach builder, but it won't be them. You can say it's them. It's just not. So I would imagine you can do whatever you want as long as you're not. Saying. Maybe they won't allow you to put their name on there or something like that. I don't know.
Some people got some weird names.
They do. We'll see.
Scott.
We'll see soon enough. Even Jackson says can't wait to see who opted out on our roster.
Fun.
I don't know why you would, but hey, everybody's got their reasons. Good topic though to start the show. Well, the show hasn't started officially yet, but to get us primed and ready. I'll come back. I know there were some more questions at the end of the show and cover those if we don't do that throughout the recording. So this is how this works for those of you that maybe have never seen this before. We do this recording for our podcast, our main show of E2C Network, live every Sunday night. You know that if you're here right now. It is a 30 to 45 minute show with 3 segments that range anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes, something like that. Auburn potpourri to start off the night. And then we will talk about Auburn football summer updates, mainly around the roster, a little bit of a coaching discussion. And also we'll talk about Texas and Oklahoma. This is an Auburn show, but we're going to talk about the implications, the connections, welcoming our new SEC brethren and how we love to think about how we'll affect them as the orange and blue with being their new conference mates. So all that's on tap here. Stay tuned after the show for a little Q&A session after this. But if Austin is ready, we'll get this thing started.
Yes, sir.
In 3, 2, 1. David Housel described it best. We are living the whole of the Auburn experience. You can quantify it, you can qualify it through a variety of methods, times, people, places, things, experiences. But at its heart and at its core, the Auburn experience is all about Auburn sports, Auburn culture, and of course, the Auburn family. Since it's about family, 2 of those members got to be here to talk about this experience. I'm your host, Kyle, alongside me as always in chair number 2. And probably the best part of the show, Mr. Austin Scott. Welcome back, sir.
You're too kind. Thank you, Kyle. War Eagle to you. War Eagle to our listeners and viewers. Hope they're all doing well. We're in July. It is now the month of July, which means we're over halfway through the calendar year,
Yes.
Which means we're creeping toward the fall and creeping toward another athletic season, another academic season as well. So good to hear from you. Good to hear from everybody that's out there and looking forward to a great show.
You know everybody's geared up for that academic season.
Obviously.
Everybody's just, ranking, already getting their fantasy rosters ready for the Auburn engineering department, which is going to take on everybody and take them out. Have you seen their facilities? Have you seen how much money they put into that section of campus over there?
Gotta get ready for Tiger Scheduler. Get your drop ad ready. It's time to go.
What words are you using? This
Tiger
just
Scheduler,
proves
drop ad. What are you
this
talking about?
shows how much older I am than you, that you got all these other tools that you went through during your time
You
at
didn't
Auburn.
drop and add classes?
Oh, drop and add classes. Now I'm with you. Now, but I
Drop
thought
ad, yeah.
drop ad. Okay, I thought this was some application that you were talking about. That
Oh,
was
no. Now,
on.
Tiger Scheduler, you were probably not familiar with.
That does not sound
That
familiar.
came halfway through I was there and basically allowed you to create a schedule instead of just type in your codes.
Almost like creating a team in NCAA 25 or college
It
football.
all comes back around.
We just made it a full circle with academics, sports, and Auburn all mixed in between here. What a way to start the show off tonight. Let's get started with Auburn potpourri. It's just a bunch of random stuff that we want to hit at the top of our show here that we won't spend a whole lot of time on. Let's start with recruiting, because I know these are the things that people get just jazzed up about, especially during summer. Some news this week. Let's talk about recommitments, Austin. Recommitments, not commits, not flip. Well, I guess technically it is a flip now, or not. I don't know if he ever committed anywhere else.
Yeah.
A tight end has recommitted to the 2025 class for Auburn football. Mr. Hollis Davidson is a tight end. He has previously been part of this class, decommitted, and now has come back into the fold. I can say there's maybe a handful of these instances, Austin, where someone recommits after decommitting. Can you think of any off the top of your head?
Man, off the top of my head, not for Auburn. It doesn't normally end well when they lose someone.
Pessimist.
I'm just being honest with you. No,
Nothing.
I'm sure there's a very obvious one in recent years someone's going to remind us of.
Right.
But I don't think so. I mean, you just don't hear that very much in today's recruiting world. And I don't know what Hollis's reason was for originally decommitting. I'm sure he was feeling the heat from some other programs, but glad to see he's back in the fold now.
You never know why these kids flip, commit when they do, decommit when they do. And with NIL in the mix, I mean, we'd be naive to say that could or could not.
Mm-hmm.
You'd be naive to say it wasn't a possibility to be part of this equation. I don't know Hollis Davidson. I'm not insinuating anything. I'm just saying there are so many factors in why these kids feel pressured or excited to commit at one point and they don't. But here's the reality is he's back in the fold for now. We celebrate him. We're excited to have him as part of this class. And this is a tight end group that is going to be losing a lot of talent out of this and a lot of experience. So there is room to grow, room to play here. And I'm happy that Hollis Davidson has come back into the fold. We talk about recommitments, but let's talk about first-time commitments, and hopefully the only time we talk about this commitment. I don't know how I feel about having a lot of decommits and then recommits. Brand new to the class, Jacoby Ward, offensive lineman. You know that gets Auburn fans jazzed up every time they see an offensive lineman being recruited and getting a commit from them in a class. This is for 2025. And it comes off the heels of losing another offensive lineman recruited maybe a couple of weeks ago. So I know that helps heal that wound that Auburn fans had. It feels like whether it's this one or another one, there's a little bit of momentum coming for Auburn right now in the recruiting as we get closer to Big Cat Weekend, which will be here very, very soon. But Austin, another offensive lineman, you know that is the lifeblood of a program, is having good offensive linemen.
Oh, 100%. And I think this is number 6 or 7 in this class already for Auburn. So it's big time. You got to have them. You got to have them in bulk. I think Auburn fans know that all too well, given if you've listened to this show for any time period, you know how much we value offensive linemen and how much it translates on the field. It has been an emphasis point for Hugh Freeze and his staff since he arrived at Auburn to make up for some of the lacking parts in recruiting in the last few years. So keep them coming.
Keep them coming. Let's keep it in the additions to Auburn sports teams realm. I'm going to throw one at you right here. I think it's very important for a baseball team that is trying to re-find its footing after a very difficult year. And if you need a shot in the arm of talent, of excitement, you go find teams that have done really well this year, so well that they were in the championship game for college baseball. I'm talking about Texas A&M being one of them. Now, there's a lot of storylines around Texas A&M that only wow. I think Tommy Tuberville now has the heat off of him in terms of saying that Pine Box comment. If you don't know what we're talking about, just go look up the former Texas A&M head coach, now current Texas head coach for baseball, and his decision making. That's not what we're talking about, though. I guess we should be thankful with all that craziness because it opens up the doors for people on those teams to seek other opportunities. Jet Johnston is coming to play here at Auburn. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Austin, he's more of a utility player. I think he can do a little bit of everything. If this is the one I have correct, even pitch potentially as well.
I think that was my understanding too. He can be a two-way guy if necessary. But I love that. I think you got to love someone who's athletic, who's been around the program at A&M, who knows what it's like to compete and win. And then you see where he can fill a lot of needs for you and be flexible. So I was excited to get him. I think mainly more than anything with, like you mentioned or alluded to, all the coaching situations. I think A&M ended up going with an internal hire, and people were wondering just how many they're actually going to lose now. And so to still get him and him see value in coming to Auburn is big.
You know, if you think about it, Texas A&M across many sports, but two big ones, football and baseball, has lost a lot over the last season, having the football transition and now the baseball transition and head coaches. They are bleeding essentially blue chip, what some consider blue chip players left and right because of these transitions that are happening. And Auburn's benefiting. Others are benefiting from it. Auburn's also taken some Texas A&M commits and transfers in the football realm. So Texas A&M, if y'all want to just keep giving, we'll keep taking.
Come on.
It's fine.
I mean, it's more fun out here anyway. And we're not overly concerned about who's coming in the conference and all that. And weird cheerleaders and chants.
We're not part of a cult.
We're not a cult.
Anyway, we won't go there. It's another topic for another day.
Yeah.
I'll give this. I had debated whether we should talk about this, but I have been getting a lot of questions about this. And I'm going to call this a construction report around campus, around new major projects. There's a lot of construction, folks.
A lot.
Shocker. Auburn during summer having.
Welcome to construction. Don't mind the Auburn.
Yes. I think, was that Clint that quoted that? Or
I don't know. I've heard that from tour guides at Auburn. I mean, that is the truth.
It is the truth. But two big projects for sports, since we're really putting a focus on sports here, especially in potpourri today. The video board in the north end zone and the baseball suites. I swung by there today. We're recording on a Sunday to get a really good look at things. The baseball suites still continue to come along. It's really starting to come into view how much different Tiger Walk for football. I know we're talking about
great point.
Is going to how different that's going to look. And it finally hit me. They are just beginning to put, I guess you would call it, not plaster, board up along the walls of those new suites. And so, folks, get ready. It's going to look a lot different. Maybe a lot more shade. I'm just now thinking about it.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Of course, most times the earliest Tiger Walk you would have would be like it. I'm trying to think of where the sun would be. Anyway, not really much to report there outside of it continues to move its progress.
Is the road back open? Can you drive?
The road
there?
is back open with a slight deviation, like a swerve, but it's fine. It's open to 2 lanes again. The one that I'm a little disappointed to report to you, and this is just as of Sunday, the 7th, there has been no progress made on the video board construction as of this moment. I don't know why. It seemed to me like that should have probably already gotten moving. They have openly said 2025 is the date. So it wasn't supposed to be ready by this time, but I expected maybe to see something.
Well, I would hope that, and I'm speaking from a ticket holder on that end zone side, I'm hoping that there would be some progress made. Then we got it's 4 home games, right?
Yeah.
Start the year. We got a pause maybe for 5, really?
5 home games in September.
Who's
August
the 5th one?
That'd be
Oklahoma.
Yeah.
No, they're 4th.
Hold on. Let me get this right. I got this mixed up last time I talked about it. Alabama A&M. Cal. New Mexico, not New Mexico State.
Thank you.
Alabama fans chill.
And then no, you're right. It is Oklahoma.
Oklahoma. Arkansas.
It's Arkansas 5th. It's Arkansas. I don't remember either. I don't have it in here.
They are here. They are in the 5.
It's 5. It's 5. Well, my point was that I think you're going to need to take a break there. I would think, from major progress for about a month.
Yeah.
And so you need to get something going, right? And so that I don't love hearing you say that there's not much happening.
Hopefully when I make a swing back there maybe one more time before everything gets going for the athletic and academic calendar year, we might see some progress. There may be some others dropping reports as time goes on. But for now, those are your construction updates. Final notes in potpourri, just to round out very quickly here. Men's and women's golf schedules are now out. We bring that up because, folks, reminder, national champion men's golf team and the women's golf weren't too far away from maybe competing for that national title as well. They were in the final rounds. But check those out. No matches in Auburn, I believe, for either of them, but that could happen in the final regional play when that occurs, if they were good enough this year. We already added another team member, the Auburn basketball team, but that one is not an Auburn basketball player. No time to talk about that today. And of course, a shout out to Miss Suni Lee for officially being on the U.S. gymnastics team, our former Auburn Tiger. So happy to see that. Now, we got to move into the main part of the show. We got 2 major topics to talk about with you this evening. We're going to do an Auburn football summer update centralized around roster coaching discussions that have happened throughout this summer so far. And finally, in our big topic number 2, we'll talk about Texas and Oklahoma, our official Auburn and SEC welcome for them. Big topic number 1 tonight, I want to discuss with you, Austin, football to get everybody ready to go in this offseason because everybody is itching to have real football discussions. I know you are. I know every single person I talk to or on the street is in chat rooms, all this stuff.
Not in a video game, right? Like real football.
Not in the game.
The game.
But the game. They want to talk about
Got
the
it.
actual way and the team, the roster, because let's be honest, Austin. It's all just talk right now. You can give predictions, previews, all this stuff right now, but we haven't even had SEC media days. That's soon. It's just prognosticating at this point. Everybody's guessing, best guessing, hypotheses. One of those things. Hypothesize.
Sure.
Anyway, that's all we're doing at this point. And I think, though, we've got some news stories that we could discuss today. So let's jump into it. I've got a few things, about 5 small to large stories about the team when it comes to the roster, when it comes to coaching as well, that I think we need to discuss. Let's start with something that's a little bit older in terms of news, but I've been wanting to discuss this with Austin for a while. The Tigers added a new coach, an off-the-field coach. Well, technically an off-the-field coach, a non-assistant coach position, TJ Rushing, who was part of Texas A&M's team. We just talked about in a previous potpourri section about Auburn snagging, Texas A&M players. Apparently we do it to coaches as well, to be an off-the-field defensive back coach, recruiting focus for him as well. Your thoughts on this one, Austin, because I found it very interesting with 2 very seasoned, very well liked defensive back coaches already here at Auburn.
Well, I think the biggest thing for me is that it came out that they were hiring him as what's his specific title as of right now?
I believe he would
something
assistant to the coach. This is like the office assistant to the regional manager or something like that.
The assistant to the assistant regional manager.
The assistant to the assistant regional coach.
Well, my perception of it, because it was not long after that news came out that the NCAA approved unlimited on-field coaches. There is no limit of how many you can have down there. You can get everybody and their mother to join the sideline to coach up the boys if you'd like. And so I think that really played a role in that. I think in the past we've kind of heard the term, he's an analyst or he's a strategic assistant,
quality control,
quality control. And they're allowed to help out with practices and things. But when it comes to game day, they got to be in the booth or somewhere else. Mm-hmm. That eliminates that. And so I think that's probably TJ Rushing's role. Will that turn into more after he gets his feet a little wet? I don't know. That might be something we have to see after this season and in future years.
Because it's very interesting. You have Wesley McGriff, who has been quite the journeyman when it comes to coaching. He's been to Auburn and back several times, including this past season where he went to Texas A&M, right?
Correct.
And then for like 2 weeks and then came
Right.
back. Still safeties coach, I believe. You then brought in Charles Kelly from Colorado to be not only a co-defensive coordinator, but his focus group, as even coordinators do, is going to be the cornerbacks. So those two aspects, and sometimes those are combined into one assistant coach, is covered. So what do you need another one for? That's what I found really intriguing about this. It makes a little bit more sense in light of what you just talked about the rule change for coaches. I want to put something out there, highly speculative. I cannot stress this enough for those of you listening. I have no information that's telling me this. Really, not really, but it's a little bit of kind of putting pieces of puzzles together. Do you think he may be getting ready to take a position officially at some point, and this is just how you get him on the staff to start with?
Well, I think it could be, like you mentioned, they're both seasoned veterans. I don't see Charles Kelly being that one that might leave a spot vacant. He's been trying to get to Auburn for a while, come back to Auburn for a while,
Right.
and is new here. Wesley McGriff is older, and has been to Auburn back and forth a few times. Clearly shows he loves being here. So could it be he's retiring and TJ Rushing will take that spot over? Maybe. I'm not ready to quite say that yet, just because with this rule change, TJ Rushing is on staff, right?
Yeah.
Like he might have a more niche, I never know how to say that, way area of coaching. Is he coaching outside boundary defensive backs? Is he going to focus on certain schemes with more pass happy teams? I don't know. But I think you're going to see a lot more of these kind of things, whether it's offensive, defensive, running backs, showing running backs how to block, showing running backs how to run. If your school is willing to pay for them, you can have as many coaches as you want. So it's kind of a new era in college football coaching staff world, and we're getting up for a close and personal look at it with TJ Rushing, I think.
No matter what it ends up being, it looks like a great pickup just in the recruiting realm. And obviously with Hugh Freeze, that being what he sold himself on to come to Auburn, one of the aspects that only adds to his arsenal in that aspect. And we know that Auburn could desperately need it during times where they're trying to dig out of the hole that they built for themselves over the past couple of seasons. Let's keep moving on through the storylines of Auburn football summer roster updates. Alex McPherson, star kicker, knock on wood right now, 100% so far at Auburn. I said it, and you can blame me if he misses one now. He missed spring ball. A lot of us were wondering what happened, and I don't know if this is what we're about to talk about was related to that, but he's been out for a while, and it's now been revealed with some interviews this week from Coach Hugh Freeze himself that he's been dealing with a health issue that reportedly may be more gastrointestinal in nature, dealt with some weight loss, which, can I just say it? I'll say it again. He's already a very small guy.
Yep.
I say that with all the love that I can for Alex. It's like the stereotypical kicker, style thing. But it sounds like that is on the mend at this point. Coach did say he will not miss the season, but it's been interesting to follow that with the addition of Towns Magoo, I think is how you say his last name. I've heard it Magoo and Mago, and I don't know who to trust.
As a resident, I hear Magoo the most.
So
and he is former Auburn High kicker.
I said Magoo from the get-go. Then I had people just scream at me for saying it's Magoo. I'm like, are you sure?
I could be wrong. And there could be a lot of people in Auburn wrong, but I've heard Magoo.
But anyway, you wonder if maybe you had Alec McPherson for several more years. You thought that was kind of an interesting pull in this class. Not saying it's technically related, but I just wonder how this fit into this. But were you shocked by the news of Alex having to deal with all this?
I guess I didn't really know that he had been missing time. I knew he was not in the 8A game.
Right.
Obviously that was the Towns Magoo show. But I hate to hear that for him. Whatever that is, it does not sound fun. It does not sound like something that's enjoyable to go through. So I first of all, just hope he gets better and hope that he's able to kind of climb over the hill of whatever this is.
Right.
But additionally, you got to feel really good for Auburn's kicking game that they do have Towns Magoo and that he has already proved that he can kick it and also kick effectively and efficiently. So it's going to be an interesting thing to watch. I think it's one of those things you're not excited about, but you feel a little relaxed about that you have two options.
Yes.
But yeah, whatever this is, whatever this kind of thing is, it does not sound fun. And all the best to Alex McPherson, and hope he gets to feeling better soon.
Yeah, so that's the first, and this is continuing the train of not so great updates, but I think they're important discussions around the roster and what it's about to look like for the upcoming season. Defensive back Tyler Scott tore his ACL during I don't know if you call it a practice or a workout or something during the summer. He will miss the rest of the season. I mean, ACLs are no jokes. Suffered that during some type of situation with the team this summer, and you hate for it to happen in any circumstance, but to happen when you're not even in the season, that's frustrating for him. Makes a little bit more sense why we took somebody from Colorado recently, other than some ties that were clearly already there with some of our coaching staff. A spot clearly, I think, opened up for the season. It made a lot of sense there. But we're already taking hits, Austin. And
Well, as a Scott with similar athletic prowess, who has torn his ACL. I relate to Tyler a lot here.
How does that feel? Like I've never
It's
torn
not
my
good. It's not good. And I'll be honest, like the pain initially doesn't feel good. The recovery is just terrible.
Yeah,
And
that's what I've heard.
I'm not I was totally joking when I said I'm a Scott of the same athletic prowess, because I'm not. But
I'm about to
I'm
say.
sure it will be much better for Tyler, because he is an athletic specimen, and has the ability for all the PT and training that is available at Auburn. That's excellent. So I hope that it is quick for him, but it is not fun, and so it hurts already for Auburn to lose such a talented kid. But I think that's an area of the team that a lot of people are intrigued by, and so I think that room will have to kind of step up, but they're in good shape with a lot of the players they have.
Yeah, I think this is one of those things that I want to be careful with what I'm saying here. I'm happy if it had to happen, it happened early on in his career, so he can get that taken care of now. We're not having someone in their final year losing that last year of eligibility to play
Correct.
or something like that. You don't want to see it happen at all. But he's a guy who's just arrived here. Hopefully, this will get corrected and he can get back out there and start strengthening himself up for the next year to come. So 2 not so great updates in a row about what our players have been dealing with this offseason. Hopefully, we're not talking about too much more. This one is an update of something we've been talking about a lot, but it does affect the roster. And it started bad, has increasingly got better, and that's our friend Brian Battie and his, I would say, borderline miraculous improvements from what he went through, being involved in a gun violence incident, being hit in the head, losing his brother in that same incident. I don't have any major updates, Austin, other than I wanted us to acknowledge what's the roster's kind of been going through this offseason. You've lost Brian Battie for the season. I'm not a doctor. I'm not there to give the updates, but I think based on what we're hearing, there's no chance for that. And
Yeah.
it's going to affect the roster in some ways, and that's not the most important thing, but it is something that we need to discuss on that. So how do you feel about the running back room without Brian Battie and all of that? And I know it's a shame not to have him there, because he was I call him a Swiss Army knife, such a weapon.
Yeah, well, incredible in the return game too, which he really excelled in. Like you said, not the most important thing, but it does affect Auburn's, some schemes and ability they thought they'd had. I think you'll see probably a lot more of Jeremiah Cobb. I think that's somebody that has shown he has potential, but could slip into that role a little easily. Just with Damari Alston and Jarquez Hunter, I don't think they quite fit as well in their physical athletic ability. So it's going to be interesting. I think people are really excited about Jeremiah Cobb, and he's a special talent. But Brian Battie's a seasoned veteran, has been around college football for a while now. So they will certainly miss his leadership and his in addition to his abilities on the field. But like you said, just glad to continue to see a positive update each time. It seems like we appreciate his family being willing to share that with us, and our prayers have constantly and will continue to be with the Battie family.
Yes, and I will say this: I again have no connection to the family, not expecting him to be in any way involved with the team in the truest sense. But what I would love to see this year, if it's possible, if he continues to progress, is that man to walk out onto to be out on the field at some point this season in whatever capacity he can, to be honored by this team. To me, that moment will be so special if it can happen. And so I hope and pray.
There'll be some dust flying around the stadium.
You want to talk about some dust, man? There won't be a dry eye in the entire stadium, and he will get the biggest standing ovation. He's already getting that regardless of what happens in that realm or not, because we are so happy that he's still around and still improving for us and his Auburn family, and most importantly, his family. Final quick note here about roster and discussions and stuff. I'm going to put this out there.
Oh boy.
Into the universe.
Oh boy.
And I need everybody to hear me.
Oh boy.
Just please listen to me. Listen to your friend Kyle, who's not saying this to be annoying to you, to not give you the content that you want or the stuff that you clearly want to hear.
Here we go.
The statement I am making has been said by the coaches, by players, everything. Peyton Thorne is your starting quarterback. Get over it. I'm done. I'm like so done with this topic. There is such a push for a quarterback controversy. And here, let me just say this. If it happens as we progress into fall, I'm all for it, because that means we get better. And if somebody overtakes Peyton Thorne, that's what the natural progression of what happens. But folks, those of you that are wishing for him to fail, hoping, asking for what chances do you think that Walker White's going to be able to overtake Peyton Thorne? Just get on, listen to your coaches, listen to your players. They have accepted it. You need to as well. I don't need to say any more, Austin.
I think it'd be wise that you don't. We might get ourselves in trouble. I think that it has been widely and overly stated that Hugh Freeze has a stamp of approval for Peyton Thorne, and he trusts him and believes in him, believes he's the best option. I think he's been very candid about if he had seen a better option in the quarterback that met the right criteria, and that includes price, then they'd be after him. But he did not, and I think you have to coach him or trust that he knows what he's doing, and he's the one that's coaching him every day. I have said this before on this show, and I fully believe it. I think that there is plenty of historical data in the transfer portal era that shows you when you have a transfer quarterback, year 2 is a much bigger step than year 1. I think you can see that with Joe Burrow, Bo Nix, Jalen Daniels. I'm not saying Peyton Thorne is going to be any of those individuals.
No.
All those were first-round draft picks, even Bo Nix people. But I think that you will see a jump in Peyton Thorne's production because he's been here another year. He's more comfortable. He's having fun, and and Auburn has been able to upgrade and bring other weapons around him. So I think that Peyton Thorne will have a much better year than he did last year. Will it be enough for Auburn to be successful? We'll have to find out and see.
Yes. It is something I know I'm still going to have to deal with. And sometimes people just bring it up just to watch me get riled up and stuff like that. But at this point, folks, if you haven't caught on, if you haven't got clued in, I can't help you. But that was plenty to discuss. Summer updates for the football team. We'll have much more detailed stuff, much more concrete stuff to discuss as we inch closer and closer to that fall season throughout this summer. Our big topic number 2 tonight, one of the things that has been a major topic throughout of college football is expansion and how that's going to affect everything. And there are certain conferences doing it right. There are certain conferences doing it clearly wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I would say the SEC is one of those that if you have to expand and if you are going to add people to your conglomeration of units of teams, they've done it well. And what we're talking about is the addition of Texas and Oklahoma to the SEC. Now, we have discussed this a lot here on the Auburn Experience, but I wanted us to spend this segment today. It's an official, as of this past week, Austin, of them being in the SEC. I think July 1st, it was the big push. You saw the logo. You're one of those. Are you really one of this? We're going to have a controversy tonight. Oh my God. Have you heard me go on this rant before?
I don't think so. I honestly have no idea what you're about to say. I just thought it'd be funny to do that.
Okay. What we want to talk about is the dynamics of having Oklahoma and Texas, not just in football, that's going to be a big part of the discussion, but just having them in the SEC and how the connections between Auburn, Oklahoma, Auburn, Texas, across many things here. So it's really just an open discussion about this more than an agenda-driven things. I'm going to just say this at the start. I think the horns down thing is the stupidest thing that has ever happened. I think it's stupid that horns down is offensive to Texas people.
100%.
I think it's stupid that people try to offend them with the horns down thing. This
100%.
feels like schoolyard nana boo boo stuff. I mean, if we're going to talk trash, let's talk trash. I mean, what is this? What
I think it's hilarious.
Are we getting fined for doing this now? Like, just
I think it's so funny.
I don't know.
I definitely do not care. Like
I know you don't.
I will probably be there will be times where I probably do it for funny, like this moment for fun. And there will probably be times where I'm like, what are we doing? I think my funniest part about the horns down before we move into the bigger discussion we wanted to have and plan for is that like you said, that the fact that it actually offends Texas cracks me up. And my hope is that moving into the SEC, because they were coddled a little bit in Big 12, that would, sometimes you got a penalty for horns down. That will not happen here. You have moved up on a playground, and that will not happen. So I think for that sake, I think they're going to see it a lot in the beginning. But if they continue to prove themselves and pull their weight, I think you might see less of it. There's kind of that equal footing.
It just irks
it cracks me up.
It irks me. I'm just gonna be honest. That's my crotchety old man bit for the week. I think it's so stupid, and I'm asking.
That ensures that I will probably do it more often.
I know, and that's why I'm bringing this up here so we can have moments like this again. I'm just asking, can we be more original, and can we have something a little bit more hardcore? Like Tennessee fans, you got something great. You can say we're the real UT. Like at least that's kind of catchy, that's clever and stuff. But hordes down. Oh my gosh! Like let's come. Stop it. All right, I didn't know that we were going to start our discussion with that. Oklahoma, Texas, welcome to the SEC. Welcome to your now what will be more future connections with Auburn. Let's talk about football. We obviously know that we have played both of these teams previously. It's not gone well. I believe the last time that Auburn and Texas played was the 1983 season, and I believe we lost, if I'm not mistaken. Oklahoma, the last time we played them in football was in the Sugar Bowl. I was there. You can blame me for the loss. We got our butts kind of handed to us in the Sugar Bowl.
I was there as well. No one will be surprised by that. Yeah, no one should be surprised by that.
Cue the jokes right now.
Come on.
Maybe it was me too. I will say that every bowl game I've attended, we've lost.
I have seen 2 wins. Birmingham and Purdue.
Maybe it's me then. So, not at least most recent success with these guys, not a lot of it. So you got to think, if you are a Texas and Oklahoma team coming into the SEC for Oklahoma this year, seeing Auburn injured here, you got to feel good about historically what your chances might be. But Oklahoma has never played at Auburn and has never experienced Jordan Hare in the September, anytime but September afternoon. So
afternoon, not evening, in case you hadn't heard that rant.
Yeah.
I won't do it again.
Missed out. But you have to understand when Georgia.
I do understand.
It's our own fault for not being more relevant than they are to the equation at this moment.
I hope they're both 0-4 and we're all watching it on prime time.
What do you think would happen?
We haven't discussed the fact that I have a wedding that day, but we'll get there. We can't discuss that right now.
I don't know what to do with that information, Austin. I don't know what to do with that. So,
I might get myself in trouble if we keep talking.
Okay. I'll let me move on for you. So, Oklahoma and Auburn will get to renew that this year. I gotta say, what do you feel about how well Auburn and Oklahoma, Auburn, Texas fit with each other? What do you think the dynamic's going to be?
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like, is there going to be animosity? Is there going to be excitement? What do you think?
I think there will be more. I don't know if animosity is the right word. I think there will be more of a a familiarity in terms of we've seen it more recently with Oklahoma and
Right.
Auburn. There's softball, obviously the World Series from 8 years ago.
I forgot about
There
that one.
is there's the Sugar Bowl you just brought up.
We did beat them in basket. We
There's a
beat them in
recent
basketball,
basketball.
which we whooped some
Was
tail in that one.
was it a SEC Big 12?
It was I think it was the last SEC Big 12 matchup, actually.
What?
I think it
Really?
was. Yeah, I think it was the last one we ever played in the SEC Big 12. Because remember, the ACC SEC Challenge started this year.
Oh yeah, you're right. Well, there was another. We've played them twice because there was one several years ago with Buddy Hield.
Yeah, right.
But you're right. It was 2 years ago. We also played, or yeah, a year and a half ago. We also played them. So
Right.
I think that's been a regular thing more often. Maybe a gymnastics meet in there somewhere too.
Yeah, I think you're right.
That sounds familiar. So with Texas, it's kind of more where it's like we haven't really messed around with each other. We've pulled for them several times
They
here
let
over
us
the last
down.
few years, and well, they let us down once.
That was a big one.
That was a big one. They helped us out this past year. But yeah, I think it'll be a learning curve with everybody of getting used to these fan bases. My biggest hope, and I'm talking to myself, I hope that the Auburn people will, and I know they will travel to these places and get used to their campuses, their people, and their traditions. Because I mean, if you don't do that, then I have a hard time with you even trying to do something like Horns Down, right? Like you gotta, if you can't go out there and try and figure out their way of life, then it makes trash talking harder.
I'm glad you brought up a lot of the other sports connections, especially with Oklahoma as of late. It seems like our paths have crossed more than Texas and Auburn. I got to think there is some animosity that has built up over time because of some of those things. You're coming in with a 4-peat Oklahoma softball team,
Yep.
national champions this next season, their first season in the SEC. So there's no reason to think that they won't be at least somewhat successful. I got to wonder, because I like to think of this, how well does Auburn and Oklahoma not resemble each other, but how well do they fit in like mentality, and like Auburn's got this overarching blue collar mentality.
Right.
I think there's some of that with Oklahoma, but because of other recent successes they've had, they've almost, it's not, I want to call it an upgrade, but they have taken a step to a different viewpoint. Texas feels a lot like Alabama as like what they perceive themselves as royalty of college football. So that's kind of where I'm going with this, Austin. I feel like Texas in relation to Auburn will be perceived more like an Alabama type of foe, and Oklahoma, if you can remove some of that recent animosity that has been developed there, will be more like a Texas A&M, where it gets pretty rowdy. We've had some pretty good knockarounds with each other, but I think there's some similarities.
You see some equal footing.
Yeah.
I agree, and I think that the Texas attitude that we've heard about from afar, right? And A&M's like screaming in the background somewhere, like, we're trying to warn you, you don't want to deal with these people. But that's kind of what we're like. We know it's there, but they still got to prove their worth here.
Right.
I think they're going to come in a little more like that. I'm with you. I think Oklahoma can be viewed more as an equal at this moment, and Texas's view of Auburn might be lesser, and Auburn might be saying, hey, you hadn't earned anything here yet.
Yeah. I think a lot of people would agree with some portions of that analogy. Again, it's going to be hard to separate some of the animosity that's been there with Oklahoma because of bowl games and things like that. I think Auburn's going to be in well positioned to beat Oklahoma and considered in a close proximity to beat Oklahoma in Jordan-Hare this year. It's going to be the biggest one of the season in the home stretch.
Right.
You got to go to Oklahoma in the next year. Like you said, I hope we travel well. I would go if I wasn't already planning to go to the Baylor game, and I can only really probably afford one travel.
Same.
So I will plan. I'm planning. I've already had discussions about going to Baylor, so I hate that I'm not going to be able to make that.
I think you and I have been planning that with our respective people for quite some time.
Yes, as long as I still have connections there when that time arrives. But it's just next season.
Yeah,
Texas, I don't know that I have I have more excitement about going to see Oklahoma than I do Texas. And I think this
do you really? I think I'm the opposite.
I don't know. To me, I think it's what I was getting at, that maybe similar level or behaviors or personality of the programs, the all-encompassing feeling of Oklahoma matches us
Sure.
more. I think that's what I'm getting back to
Well,
on this.
from a bird's eye view and from someone who's never been to either one, it does seem like Norman's probably more of a college town, right?
Yeah.
Than Austin being a
Well,
college.
have you
No?
heard some of the stories about UT Austin and how I don't want to get into politics and stuff here, but they resemble a very college town if you catch
Sure.
my
But it's a bigger city in terms of
Yes.
it being that close to.
That's what you mean. Small town.
Yeah,
midtown.
I mean more just like geopolitical, whatever you want to call
Yes.
it. So I could see that. I think I am more, whenever that day comes, I'm more excited to visit Austin mainly because just of it's Texas.
Yeah.
Like it's I know they both have history, but it's Texas and
Yeah.
and it's just a little bit different. I'll be honest, if I'm a sucker for that burnt orange. That
We have the real burnt orange though.
I understand, but that burnt orange and probably some of that is because Oklahoma is any shade of red, and I don't want any part of that.
I know that's my hang up with Oklahoma is the red.
Yeah.
Anytime I see red, I literally see red.
Mhm.
I've got it. Bringing it all back. This
Tell
whole
me.
UT or horns down debate
Oh
thing.
boy,
That I
we're
hate
back
so
here.
much. That there, our burnt orange is better, or our orange is more burnt than yours. Like we can do something with that. I know I'm not saying what I just said is good. I'm just saying
We're
we
gonna
can
have to
do something.
workshop that. Yep, we're gonna have to
Workshop it.
workshop that.
We can pull something off better than horns down. Let's do better. Let's be better. That's all I'm
Okay,
saying.
we'll work on that. There's a lot of orange. Well, actually, I guess it's just us in Tennessee now, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
and their orange is not even close. But they got their whole UT thing. They're the real UT.
They can do that. Okay, real quick, rapid fire. Who does Auburn beat first? Oklahoma or Texas in these? I'm gonna give you just a few sports.
Oh, rapid fire! I like
Rapid
this.
fire.
I like this.
As SEC members, starting now this season, who do they beat first? Baseball.
Oh man, Oklahoma.
Gymnastics, because I think they both have gymnastics teams. I think.
If Texas has a gymnastics team, Texas.
Let's see how well you know your sports. Track and field.
Oklahoma. I know nothing.
Probably Oklahoma. If they have one, Texas.
I feel like Texas is really good. That was my gut.
Yeah. Swimming and diving.
Oh gosh, Texas.
Texas has actually got really good swimming and diving team.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And the big one. Well, let's do one more. Women's basketball.
Oklahoma. Texas is good, but that's a little bit of a like Johnny Harris came from Texas, right? She was there for a year with Vic Schaefer. I think she followed him to Texas for 1 year.
You may be right. Final question. Who does Auburn beat first in football?
Oklahoma.
Not even hesitation.
No.
So it's happening this year is what you're saying.
Well, it could be next year because we play them next year. But
okay,
yes, it's happening this year.
So recency bias. Like he's hedging his bets because we get 2 shots at them.
Yeah.
To start off the
it's happening this year.
Unless we're both in the SEC championship, Auburn and Texas.
Well, then we wouldn't have beaten Oklahoma. Probably.
Anyway, more discussions to be had with Auburn, Texas, and Oklahoma. I'm excited. Seems like Austin is as well to have them a part of the conference. You should be too. This is a good thing, I think. And it's a new day. To quote Gus Malzahn, it is a new day in the SEC. It means more and more, just means more for the SEC. And we're going to end it right there before he makes me angry with horns down again. That's the end of show, episode 84 here on the Auburn Experience podcast. If you want to keep up with me, you can do so on X at Kyle Loomis 24. Where can they find you?
Send him all your horns down pictures at Kyle Loomis 24. At Austin G. Scott is where you can tag me in those so I see them.
Appreciate that. Thank you all for tuning in. Until we talk to you again. War Eagle.
War Eagle.
All right, that's the show, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in with us here. Stick around for probably about 7 minutes or so. I'll hang around and answer some of your questions and comments that we weren't able to address during it. But Austin, final thoughts for you, sir.
I don't think I have anything. I thought I saw something.
I figured you find something you wanted to address.
UF does have orange. That's kind of, but yeah, Florida is an orange team. WT, you're correct. That was someone that I was kind of like forgetting, but
and there's a
I
good
don't
reason.
think. I think yeah, that's right. No.
Yeah, so Florida, Tennessee, Auburn, Texas. That's it, right? Yeah, that'd be it.
I think so.
Unless somebody's got orange, like, you know how like Auburn technically one of their this is a Clint Richardson trivia question. One of our colors actually is yellow. Did you know that?
Auburn's?
It depends. He has the correct phrasing of this, but Auburn's one of their official colors is yellow. Think about some logos.
Tiger eye logos.
Tiger eyes. There's yellow in the tiger eyes.
That's considered a primary color, though?
I don't know that it's considered a primary color. Again, he has the terminology on this. He and I have talked about it a lot.
I'm gonna ask him about that.
You should, because he'll give you, he left this stuff, and he'll
Speaking of, and we can discuss this another time. You've seen, obviously, we did a show on, if you haven't checked out the episode on his crazy concepts, because it's one of my favorite days of the year. The Auburn City flag.
Yeah.
Had no idea.
Yeah, I know. Did you want to know it?
Oh, not now. I'd like to know it now because I want someone to come up with something better.
We did
just terrible.
You know what? We may have just decided. I was looking for another topic for next week because I think next week's gonna be one of our last slow weeks. That might be what we do.
I mean,
we might workshop this thing, man.
If you haven't seen that thing, folks, go check out the Kyle and Clint episode about him going over his crazy concept uniforms, because there's a City of Auburn flag and it's atrocious.
Yeah, we may do that if there's not other big things. It'd be a nice kind of tangential Auburn related discussion, even though it's about the city, but we can work university stuff into it.
Mayor Anders, you can change all this, I believe.
No pressure.
No pressure
whatsoever. All right, Austin, thanks for hanging out with us. And we always enjoy your insights, sir.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me, guys. War Eagle.
All right, War Eagle. All right, last little bit here with me. Go ahead and get some comments, questions, topics, very rapid fire here at the end. We did start a little bit late tonight, but we had I just looked at it. It's a very long show tonight. We had some good discussion. I felt like it would be good discussions tonight. Reminders for you all about where to find me, E2C, this week. As a reminder, if you are a TikTok person, we are doing somewhat daily TikToks in the lunchtime-ish hours. There's no set time for that. It's just where it works with my schedule. It tends to be around 1 p.m. Eastern time, in that vicinity. So if you are a TikTok person, you like just having some general Auburn Q&A, head over there on middays, lunchtime hours. Maybe 1 o'clock is the ballpark, somewhere it tries to be. Scheduled live streams. Our next scheduled one is going to be this Wednesday night, Auburn Family Night, which we have every single Wednesday night, and we've been doing so since the dawn of time. And you can join us for call. We'll take calls, just a general Q&A session there as well. We will also, I don't have a cue card ready for you, but have a live stream this week. That Wednesday show will be at 8 p.m., but the Thursday one I'm telling you about now will be with Clint. There's going to be some, not changes, I don't want to get people excited, but something new. It's called a template with the Auburn football uniform this year that he wants to discuss. He'll be writing an article about it. He'll be back Thursday to discuss that and take your comments and questions that he's an expert on in the Auburn realm. So don't miss that 8 p.m. this Thursday evening. We'll also do another one of these next Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern time. So Wednesday at 8, Thursday at 8, next Sunday, what we're doing right now at 9 p.m. Eastern time. Don't miss out on all that content, and follow us everywhere: Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok, podcast, all the things. There's all the plugs. Okay. Some of y'all TikTok people are excited whenever I give y'all a shout out on here. Let's see. What year did we play Texas at Auburn? I was there. Well, we were discussing that, and I think there was some corrections for us on when the last one happens, but I believe it was 1983 and then maybe 1991. I thought I saw a comment about that somewhere on the screen, but I could be wrong about all of that. Stan says Austin is a college town. It is, but it's also the state capital. And I feel like that, it's not that it disqualifies you, I guess, but it just doesn't feel, college town to me has to have its origins in small town roots. Auburn has that. Athens, Georgia has that. I'd say Tuscaloosa at times has had that. Baton Rouge, probably not. It's a pretty big, I think that's always been a pretty big city since it sits on the river, and thus has been part of industrialization and stuff like that. But that's kind of what we meant by that. Had a lot of other people check in during the show. Thank you so much for that. I saw this comment, Dalton. I think those daily TikTok lives are running Kyle's blood pressure. It's not that it bothers me that people want to ask the question. It's just at this point, if you haven't got the message, you're not listening. Like that shows me that the people that mainly ask that question are hoping and wishing for Peyton Thorne to fail. And that's just a poor mentality to have as a fan, in my opinion. You don't have to agree with me. That's why it's an opinion. We all have them and they all stink. Okay, I think that is at least some of the things that you guys talked about during the show. I wanted to address real quick. We'll wind it down there. We are right at an hour. Thank you so much for joining me, being part of our little family within the Auburn family. Smash that like button on the way out. Subscribe if you haven't. Join us this week, Wednesday, Thursday, both at 8 o'clock for live streams. And I would love to see you here again, of course, next week when we do the Auburn Experience for episode 85. Thank you guys so much for being here, hanging out, and being part of our little family within the Auburn family. Till I talk to you again, War Eagle.